Okay, so we're doing an emergency review today because my Motu M2 is conking out on me, and I need a voiceover done by today. Thankfully, Fifine just sent me their latest Fifine Amplisound SC1 audio interface. And I know it says streaming mixer, but look at that form factor and the features. That is clearly an audio interface. I do have other backup audio interfaces, but where's the fun in that? I have a strong feeling that this SC1 is going to be more than enough for my professional voiceover projects, at least for now. So without any further ado, let the unboxing begin. And by the way, although Fifine sent me this, everything I say in this video are my thoughts only. Alright, let's see what's in the box. Fifine Streaming Mixer Amplisound SC1. Nothing unusual here. Let's peel that. Okay, very classic Fifine here. Of course, we got the manual and the actual interface. This kind of reminds me of the Audient Evo 4. I have to say this is a very tastefully done form factor. It does seem to be all plastic. It's a very hard plastic. I'm sure that's to keep costs down, but just so you know, a metal chassis would prevent interference from getting in so your audio stays cleaner. I would have loved a metal chassis to prevent the interference from making your audio noisy, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully the plastic is good enough. And of course you get a USB Type-C to Type-C with Type-A adapter. I don't think I've seen this from Fifine quite yet. That's a very long Type-C cable. I do hope it is USB 3.0, or at the very least, fully compatible with the interface. Let's try it out. Okay, I have to say that when I first plugged it in, I was so teary-eyed because I was not expecting to have that clean of a sound right out of the box from an audio interface like this at this price point. I have my headphone knobs cranked up to maximum right now, and I can barely hear this slight hiss, which is really not a con, but it's at about that level of higher performing interfaces. When I tried listening to this audio with my high impedance headphones, 250 ohms with my DT770 Pro studio headphones, I thought to myself, well, of course the headphone preamps would seem silent because this is underpowered. So I've now switched over to my low impedance Audio Technicas, which should be the right headphones for an audio interface like this, and the headphones are still practically silent. Granted, I wouldn't say the headphone amps are super loud right now, but they are sufficiently loud. So I can even drive my gain even higher with a microphone. And I just checked it out, guys. At normal speaking levels with this mic, I get a minus 60 dB noise floor. Guys, this is a dynamic microphone. It is hard to drive this. So I can only imagine if you use a condenser, it would be even more silent. For the ultimate test, I have switched over to the Shure Sm7b, and I am driving the interface to its maximum power. And now you can hear there is a bit of that notorious preamp noise, which is to be expected because this has an advertised gain range of 50 dB. But the thing is, if you're getting a Fifine SC1 audio interface, would you be getting a Shure SM7b anyway? I still think the SM7b is an unnecessarily gain-hungry mic. But if you really want to do this, this is how it would sound if you apply some noise reduction. I'm now talking with some noise reduction. Okay, so I've just switched over to the Fifine K689d, which is a fantastic budget microphone. I think it's the mic that many of you are going to get along with the Fifine SC1. I think this sounds fantastic for the price. Combined, this interface mic combo should be less than $100, which is crazy because back in the 2010s, it would have taken about $250 to get this level of quality. So this is the mic gain knob. It controls the volume like so, and I'm going to bring it back up. And really quickly, you might think that when it turns yellow, it's already distorting. Okay, is it yellow yet? Okay, sometimes Sometimes I don't even see yellow, but just know that yellow means almost distorted. It doesn't mean your audio has distorted. So you can crank your audio up to yellow without worrying. This is the instrument gain knob, which would control the gain of your instrument. This is the knob that controls the volume for your monitors or speakers. This is where you plug your microphone in. This is the 48-volt switch, which enables phantom power used to power condenser microphones. We're using a dynamic mic right now, so we do not need to turn that on. Now for this switch, so they call this the recording/instrument switch. When you press it, both your left and right channels will be coming from your microphone. And when you push it up, you'll record your microphone audio in one channel and your instrument audio in the other one. And this is where you plug your instrument. This is where you plug in your headphones, like I'm doing now. So this is a separate gain knob for the headphones. It's got that headphone icon right there. Not to be confused with this one, which is used for your speakers. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. So this is the direct monitor button. It's called that way because you get to directly, in real time, monitor your voice through your headphones. So you would hear yourself through your mic and at the same time hear your computer sounds. And if you turn that off, now I can't hear myself, but I can still hear sounds coming from my computer. These outputs are for your speakers. You got this safety lock mechanism here, and this is your USB port where you connect your Type-C end. And that's really it. That's all you technically need in an audio interface. I quite like the SC1 compared to the complexity of the SC3. I think the audio might even be slightly better. I'll have to check that out. Okay, so let's do a quick interference test. I've just turned on the mobile data on my phone. Let's pass it over the interface. Okay. It's actually pretty good. Ooh, there you go. Can definitely hear that interference now. Hear those pops and clicks? Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Do not try this at home. But I have to say, I had to be very deliberate. From the sides, my phone doesn't seem to be introducing any interference. Like, it has to be directly on top. So considering that price and plastic build quality, that shielding is pretty good. Not perfect, but way better than I expected. Okay, really quickly, I have switched over to the Motu M2. Let's compare the audio of the Fifine SC1 to the Motu M2 using the K688 microphone as the constant. Motu M2, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Fifine SC1. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons. So I'm now using the Boya BY-M1000 Pro condenser microphone so that you know that the SC1 can power a condenser mic with its phantom power. Pro 1, the signal-to-noise ratio is insanely good for the price. On paper, they say this has a gain of 50 dB, but it drives most dynamic microphones fairly well. With the SM7b, it could of course use the help of a cloud lifter or a gain booster, but who would use an SC1 with an SM7b? In short, you get sufficiently loud audio with little to no background noise at a very good price. 2, you get quiet headphone preamps. Some audio interfaces help you record amazing audio, but while you're listening to yourself live, you hear this hiss because the headphone preamps are noisy. This helps improve your listening experience. Pro 3, the SC1 is portable. I mean, look, I'm just holding the interface with 3 fingers. This just weighs roughly 230 grams, and I can put my phone over it, and you can see that my phone is wider than the interface. So you can just throw this into your bag and take it with you wherever. The Fifine SC1 has good shielding performance. And I say good, not great, because it's plastic, but for a plastic chassis, the interface was able to sufficiently block the interference. Pro 5, the Fifine SC1 improved the audio from USB mode. So earlier in the video, I was using the Fifine K688 in USB mode, and when I connected the K688 to the SC1, at first I thought there wouldn't be a difference at all, because on paper, the AD converters, dynamic range, gain range, the technical specs between the K688 and the SC1 interface were nearly identical. Now, if you go back and compare the USB mode of the K688 when it had this white cable attached to it to when I connected it to the SC1 via XLR, you might hear that the K688 had a bit more punch to it, just a bit more heft, which is great because on the box it says Sound Enhancement Pro 6, and I really shouldn't have to say this, but the included cable works. Thank you, Fifine. Thank you. And Pro number 7, it has no static. You guys might remember the Teon Q12 from one of my earlier videos. Goes for about half the price of the SC1, but at this point, just forget it. The Fifine SC1 is just leagues better than the Teon Q12. Let's talk about the cons. Con 1, the Fifine SC1 introduces slight coloration. The highs seem to be a bit dull, and I know this because I'm using the Boya BY M1000 Pro, and I know this mic for the beautiful shimmer it has on its high end, but when I plugged it into the SC1, I didn't quite get that. Now, that is a con, but for those of you using the Fifine K699d, which is known for its harsher top end, the dulling effect of the SC1 kind of tames the K669. Also, I find that it seems to introduce a pinch of boxiness, and the low mids seem to be a bit hollow. Now, that doesn't mean that your voice is going to sound incredibly thin with the Fifine SC1, not necessarily, because I did say that coming from the USB mode of the K688, it had some improvement in terms of that depth. So I wouldn't consider that hollowness bad, it's just not optimal. Con 2, it's got low gain on paper, and let me explain. So with an advertised gain of 50 dB, it doesn't seem like the SC1 would be able to drive a lot of microphones, but I mean, look at that. I'm going to raise it ever so slightly, and now I'm much louder, and I think I'm near the clipping point, and whoa. And that's on a condenser, but even on the K688, I don't have the gain knob fully cranked up. Now, on the Shure Sm7b, I was impressed with how loud it drove it. In fact, I thought it was sufficiently loud. Loud enough to drive the SM7b, but you do begin to introduce a bit of that preamp noise. Con 3, it's 16-bit, 48 kilohertz. That is to be expected at this price. Most audio interfaces in the sub $60 price point don't do more than that, but Fifine's USB microphones are already 16-bit 48 kilohertz. So you would think that by upgrading to an audio interface, you would at least get better AD conversion. I am still waiting for the day that Fifine releases a 24-bit 96 kilohertz microphone or interface. Con 4, the EIN, or equivalent input noise, is not specified. EIN is an important spec because it gives us an idea of how quiet a preamp could be, how quiet that background is. It's kind of a shame because in practical use, it does seem very silent to me, so they might as well have included that spec. Con number 5, and this is really more of a suggestion, there are no gain meters. So this is still very old school Focusrite, that green means your audio is okay, yellow means almost clipping, and red is clipping. But the con to that is you don't know how far you are from clipping, so you might end up sounding too loud and clipping out of nowhere. So instead of blinking lights, I would love it if these rings actually became moving gain meters. So do I recommend the Fifine SC1? I absolutely do. Most content creators, streamers, gamers, voice actors, and even some singers will enjoy this audio interface. I wouldn't hesitate to use this for professional use, especially since it helps me achieve a clean and professional noise floor of minus 60 dB and lower. The only time I wouldn't use it is when a client requires 24-bit audio, which is crucial for post-processing. Fifine, please upgrade to 24-bit. We'd really appreciate it. But the raw sound quality coming out of this is perfectly acceptable in many use cases. For less than $60, I can't see why anyone wouldn't want to have at least a spare Fifine SC1. It's the kind of interface that you know just works. I really do think this is going to be my travel interface now. Overall, in my testing and research, the Fifine SC1 has hands down the best audio quality out of any sub-$60 audio interface. Now, while I don't know how long the SC1 in particular will last, I do know that the K688 preamps have served me very well for more than a year. In my humble opinion, if the SC1 lasts you a year, then you already got your money's worth. Again, this is not a sponsored video, but guys, it's just such an attractive offer. Do yourself a favor and grab one of these. If you like this video, check out this one.